And talking about the passion of the Tool fan base, I myself have looked at a lot of this stuff and have heard from a lot of people who love the band, just the theories behind the records and the Fibonacci sequence and the number sequences. And, if you rearrange these numbers, you get the true track listing for the album. And it just goes it goes very, very deep. It's very complex and very interesting. So I would imagine that you four putting the album together, like a lot of thought is going into it. But does it go as deep as all the fans discover?
Well, I mean, that what you're talking about is it has a life of its own once you release it out into the world, and if you talk about it a little bit, people kind of take that and run with it. But yeah, we put a lot of thought and meaning into it. I mean, we're known for taking our time to compose stuff, but I mean it really gets down to literally we have a whiteboard and markers, and we have little names for each section or each riff, and you're constantly changing it each day, and there's like numbers and all kinds of stuff up there. We're recording every day when we're writing. So we're all driving home with, it used to be CDs, in the car, listening to what we'd done for 4 hours on the way home, and then preparing ourselves for the next day. You come up with a bunch of changes or ideas to evolve the idea. But I mean, everyone. The beauty of art is everyone can take it and run with it and be inspired to come up with something new. So I think that's totally justified and legitimate that people have their own ideas of what's going on, even if it's loosely based on what we've talked about. I mean, like the Fibonacci thing was real. I mean, the when I actually wrote the riff for Lateralus, and my idea was I want to write a riff that keeps getting suffocated. It gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's like falling in on itself. So it ended up being a bar of 9, and then a bar of 8, and then a bar of 7, and it's basically like trying to play the same thing in shorter amounts of beats, and then one day a friend of ours that was he was actually a fan, Ryan. Me and Danny, like, crank called him one night because we were getting these crazy letters from this guy, and he ended up being becoming our friend. Basically, he came to Hollywood, but we hung out with him, and he's a really smart, crazy dude. And so I think it was the following week after we started working on Lateralus, we were all rocking that riff, and everyone was excited about it. We're like, whatever it was, the opening riff,
Yeah.
and he walks in and he says, "Justin," because I kept talking about this, how it's like a spiral. I want it to be like a spiral. It's like falling in on itself. It's closing in on itself. And he said, "Justin, do you know that 987 is the 16th number of the Fibonacci sequence?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And
Oh, wow.
and he showed me. He goes 1, then 1 plus 1 is 2, then 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8, and if you keep going 16 times, you get to 987. So that's a real thing. It just kind of happened that way. And then Maynard he was writing lyrics, so it all kind of inspired the rest of it. It all was kind of syncopated in some crazy cosmic way. So that's the truth behind that. I mean, that was a real thing. But I don't, it's not, the whole song is not based on the Fibonacci sequence. That was just something that organically came to be. I mean, I guess you could describe stuff any way you want and make it conveniently work if you want, but
Right.
but that's the story behind that one. Yeah.
Do you ever read through any of the fan theories online and just say, like, oh, that's right, that's wrong, nope, that's off base?
Not really. I mean, I've watched some stuff where people are trying to play the music, and that's what is really funny because it's it's never it's never completely right, and there's people giving lessons about this is the way you do this and that, and I'm like watching it going, no, that's not the way you do it. But the fan theories about I'm not so, it's just a wormhole that I'm not particularly interested in going down, like when they're making up, their own theories about the lyrics or whatever, or the music. I mean, it's cool. I think it's totally, like I said, it's legitimate and it's creative in its own way. But I don't spend too much time, spending on that.